Hello Ghana, hello South Africa. Welcome to another edition of Instagram Live with moi, Casandra. I hope you are all doing well. I bless God for your life. Life is ultimate. If you have life, you have everything really. Because with life, things will change. Things can change tomorrow. I was just having a conversation with a friend of mine, and I was telling him that, when you have life, you have to be hopeful. Hopeful in the fact that things can change tomorrow. In the next minute, things can change. The only person who has no option or who doesn't have that privilege is the one who's dead. So if you have life, give glory to God. I see Ben K is online and Asanda, my guest, is already online. So, as promised, Asanda Beda is my guest today. We're talking everything entrepreneurship. And Asanda Beda is also a broadcaster as well as an agripreneur. And I've always been wondering who an agripreneur is. And she's going to be telling us all about her life as an agripreneur and teaching some of us how to go into that business. All right, so in the background is music from Cliff M. In the background is music from Cliff M, and he's a very wonderful brother. Hello, Asanda.
How are you?
Finally, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Thank you so much for inviting me today to be a part of this.
I am absolutely honored to have you.
Awesome stuff. And who would have thought that I'd be doing it the other way around?
I know. I was telling myself
I was asking you the questions.
You hosted me on Channel Africa, and today I'm the one hosting you. Wow, it's a small world, but I'm honored to have you. I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing great. God bless everybody. We're blessed because we're still safe in this time and we're still pushing on. Yeah.
We thank God. We thank God. And how is business in these times? How is the media business going? How is it going?
It's been slow, but we're surviving. It has been slow. I mean, that's the reality of it. I think everybody's struggling during this time.
Yeah.
We're always trying to make what we can with what we have and take it one day at a time. But I mean, I know people have lost jobs. At least we still have ours. And I mean, our prayers go out to everybody, and just to hold on and know that this is going to pass.
Very true. I love that. This is really going to pass. We're going to hold on to that word. It's really going to pass so that we can go back to our lives. But I know that we're going to be living life quite differently after COVID. We're going to be having more, loving more, kissing more.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's go into the topic of the day, agripreneurship. I mean, I was fascinated by the word agripreneurship because, first of all, I didn't know it existed. But there was a time I heard you, giving, I think you were teaching at where we first met.
Yes, it was a training session. I do media training as well.
Yes,
so there was a company that had employed my services.
Yes. So you were talking about agripreneurship, and that got me interested. So tell me, who introduced you to agripreneurship? Or what is agripreneurship? Let's start from that.
Okay, so basically my introduction to it was being from the rurals. I think a lot of Black Africans growing up in rural, communities. I mean, that's what we know. We see our families farming all the time, and maybe we don't give it a formal word, but that's what we see happening. So in my case, my grandfather is a farmer. He still is from my maternal side, and my dad as well has a farm. So that was the early introduction into my life. But I mean, that's not necessarily precedence to one becoming an agripreneur. You have to make a choice. I mean, we're not all entrepreneurs. So fast forward then, I guess, to 2013, when I then moved to a farm in the Northwest Province and ran that for about 2 years. And basically, we were in livestock production, that's specifically cattle farming and poultry production for household and different canteens around Mafikeng in the Northwest Province. That's here in South Africa. And then I decided to come back to Joburg, and I coupled that experience with my journalistic experience, and that's when we
Wow.
launched an agricultural show on SAFM, which is on SABC, called Planting.
Really?
Yeah, so I just basically wanted to blend my love for farming and agripreneurship with my love for journalism, and just the aim was to really educate people and to inspire people on what agriculture actually is and what options there are that are available. So I think the question was agriculture. So basically, if you look at the business of agriculture, that is what
Yeah.
agripreneurship is, if I can put it very lightly.
The business of agriculture. I was going to ask, what's the difference between agripreneurship and farming? Because from what you're talking about, I would have said you're a farmer.
Yeah.
So what's the difference?
So basically, I mean, farming is literally just tilling the land to plant vegetables or fruit for human consumption, as well as using the land to rear animals for livestock farming. And if we say agriculture, relating to farming, it's basically part of it, but agriculture takes it to a wider spectrum. So agriculture is the actual science of farming. So whereas a farmer, I mean, will till the land and literally get their hands dirty, when we talk of agriculture, now we look at things like fertilizers, we look at pesticides, we look at the science of it, yes, and we look at the research of it, and we look at a broader spectrum that involves even fisheries and forestries and the, you know, maintenance of land, things like overgrazing, you know, those things that will impact the farmer on a day-to-day. So then agripreneurship then is taking that broader field and saying, start a business with it. So an agripreneur does not necessarily need to be a farmer, but an agripreneur can work with somebody who is a farmer, and they can decide to, you know, maybe buy a product from the farmer as raw as it is. Say, for example, tomatoes, they decide to take that to the market, or even agro-process it, take the tomato, wash it, chop it, pickle it, and put it in a can, and you have a product. So, I mean, that's just like literally giving you a simple example.
Yes,
but yeah, agriculture is a more broader field.
All right, Casandra, for me, I mean, when COVID, when the whole, pandemic started, I was thinking that the only thing we cannot live without is food. So I started really thinking about farming, agriculture, but where do I start from? And I'm sure there are a lot of people that are asking, okay, fine, where do I start from? I know that I want to go into, I want to be an agripreneur, or I want to go into agriculture, or the business of it. Where do I start?
For me, I think not even before we even get to the business plan, it's very important to start doing your research. Because, I mean, like we said now, agriculture is such a vast field. There's so many options. There's so many things that one can do. And it's very important to note that in agriculture, you're not necessarily getting your hands dirty. You're not on the field out in the sun getting sunburned. There's so many levels to it. You could be in a lab. I mean, there are people coming up with pesticides that are more organic right now.
For us, the youth, that is what is in our mind. When you talk about agricultural farming, we're thinking, we need to actually go till the land ourselves. We need to go weed. And you're thinking, oh, I don't know how to use a cutlass. Okay, then it's not for me.
That is not for everyone. You know what I mean? Not everyone wants to do that, and not everybody can do that. So there's certain different levels to it. But I think for me, researching is where it starts. And by research, I don't mean just go on Google or go on different trade unions within the agricultural space. I mean, find a farmer that you can shadow. I think that would give you more of a hands-on, realistic approach, because, I mean, there's government programs that we know of that, you know, people can be exposed to, especially young people. There's ones that are targeted specifically for young people and others targeted specifically for women. Those are great. You go to a workshop, you listen to people give you PowerPoint presentations, but it would never be the same as actually being on a farm with somebody taking you under their wing and shadowing that person. And then also, as you do that, you will also realize, you know, what else is out there in terms of what your interests are. You might think you want to go into livestock, cattle farming because you feel it's got bigger returns, and then you get on a farm and you see actually poultry farming is more of what I can do on the immediate, or that what I can handle at the moment. Start, couple yourself with a farmer if you can, but do also, I mean, do the research part of it. If you need to Google, if you need to see what other types of crops that you can produce, and livestock farming, and also then connect yourself with some trade unions. I mean, there's quite a few. There's AFASA, there's Agri-SA, And some research councils as well. The major one in South Africa being the Agricultural Research Council. Go on their website, see what's out there. Go on the DAF website and see what's there, and expose yourself.
That's awesome. Casandra, you've been in it since 2013, so tell us, is this lucrative?
It is. It takes time.
So it's the first thing we want to know. You know, if I'm going to be putting my 30,000 rands or 50,000 rands or $50,000, am I going to get it back, or am I going to get returns on that investment?
You will, but you're going to need to give it time. I would say 2 to 3 years before you start seeing results. Yeah, especially if you're doing it the proper way. You know what I mean? Like you want to actually be in direct contact with the farmer. If you're not a farmer yourself, and you're not just trying to, you know, buy produce somewhere that you don't even know where it comes from, what pesticides were used in it, and what's in it. You know, if you want to do it the proper way, if you wanted to have a lucrative side to it, and you know the returns that are going to be long lasting, you need to give it time. So I think that's because they don't want to wait. Young people just want money.
We don't want to wait to know. We want the fast food.
Yeah, but it is lucrative. It's definitely, it's the future. We're going to, like you said, we need food.
It is the future. Yeah, it is the future.
We're always going to need food. I mean, one of our SDGs, also our Agenda 2030 on the African continent, one of those is food security. So we're always going to need agriculture.
We always going to need, especially these times. I mean, it's really teaching us that the only thing that we cannot do without, we cannot live without food. So food is an essential. Yeah. A friend of mine is online now, Ben K. So when I started thinking about going to farm, and I said to Ben K, let's start farming. You know what he says to me? Oh, okay, then I'm going to go to my village and ask my grandpa for his cutlass. You see, that is what comes to mind when you tell someone you want to go farming. And he discouraged me. I see him right now saying that I'm learning a lot. So you're teaching him a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And you know what? I mean, you can always couple yourself with somebody who's in a space. If you don't have land, you can lease land out from somebody that you trust. Like you're saying, you and your friend could join hands. Okay. What you can come up with together. I think it also just makes it less intimidating when you go in it with somebody and you're not just on your own, and you can carry those ways.
Great. All right. I do have a few questions. All right. So Mr. Asekwala is asking that how do small farmers access finance?
Well, in South Africa, I mean, our department here is the agriculture, rural development, and land reform. If you go on the website, there's quite a few places that you can access funding. I know it does take time, and a lot of people will always complain that agricultural departments or anything government related is going to take time. But there are, I mean, banks are a little bit skeptical now in terms of funding, but there are trade unions as well that you can go via. The African Farmers Association of South Africa is one. They don't always have funds readily available, but they can certainly direct you to where you can go. To the people. And I mean, don't just look at, on the continent. I know the Ghanaian department is food and agriculture. Yeah. And head by, Honorable Dr. Akoto. There's, quite a few that one can do in terms of their governments, but there's also things that you can look at in terms of the FAO, the Food and Agricultural Organization, headed by the UN. So don't just look at your country only, or just Africa. I mean, you can go for international bodies as well. But for smaller scale, try the trade unions and try your department wherever you are, whether you're in Ghana or here in South Africa.
Or wherever in the world you are. All right, let's go into the marketing part of it. So I was having a conversation this afternoon with my my sister and my brother-in-law, and he was talking about the market part of it. So in terms of getting to the market, how does one go about it? Are there organizations that you need to go through in terms of taking your marketing the produce?
Yes, I mean, again, it comes to the trade unions. So those guys can support you, they can guide you. The Department as well of Agriculture can do that. And then again, you're taking your ownership. I mean, you can literally go directly to market and approach people. If you have a product that you believe in, if you have a product that you've put a lot of effort into making sure, matches whatever is in the market, you can. These days, I mean, we have I mean, even farmers markets. So there's lots of
Yeah.
different ways that one can market the product and get it out there.
In terms of the crops itself, are there crops that are high demand? Like for someone who wants to start, I mean, I just want to start, but the issue is, I know you've said research. Yes, I've done my research, but I need someone like you to say, Sandra, because you're starting, do not go into this one. Rather, start with this one. And when you begin to, find your feet, then you can move into other crops. What crops are in high demand, or what crops would you say for a beginner to go into?
I think, I mean, generally for everybody, whether you're a beginner or a farmer, fully fledged, maize has been quite a big one on the continent. We're seeing now that sorghum has surpassed that in terms of being the biggest agriculturally produced crop on the continent. And there's quite a few, I think SAB, the South African breweries, I don't know about, the Ghanaian counterparts and what they're doing, but I know there's quite a lot of programs where the SAB is looking for younger farmers, smallholder farmers to supply sorghum for, making their beer and things like that. So I would say sorghum. If not, second choice would be maize. But I mean, if you are starting small, if you, for example, don't have land and you want to do vertical farming, then any vegetable that you want to do, you can.
What other options are available for anybody who wants to go into farming?
In terms of?
In terms of, should you go into the actual farming, like you said, there is the agriculture part of it, there is the farmer, and then there's the agripreneur. So what other options are there? Because we are not in it, so we're not sure what sectors, form the whole agripreneurship.
So, yeah, I mean, there's fisheries. You can do research mostly. I mean, South Africa is quite big on fisheries research. We are actually in that because a lot of other Southern African countries are looking to us for leadership in terms of that. We are very well equipped in terms of our research on fisheries. So, I mean, if you want to go to school and study agricultural sciences, that would probably be the route that you go. But I mean, that's something you need to have a passion for. You're not just going to study agricultural sciences if that's not where you want to be. So, I mean, the research part of it, the scientific side of it, coupling yourself with bodies like the Agricultural Research Council, the National Agricultural Marketing Council, Agri-SA, Poultry's Association of South Africa, the Citrus Producers Association of South Africa. There's quite a lot of, and so that's what you can do. And I mean, besides being on the scientific side, you could also actually be one of the stewards in terms of the trade unions. We've got a lot of ambassadors, in this space.
You can be an ambassador for the trade union.
Yes, absolutely. And you can work with them and then see, if you want to climb the ladder in terms of their organograms, then you can do that. Or in terms of their structure, their hierarchy, you can do that as well. And like I said, if you don't want to actually farm on the land and till the land or rear livestock, you can couple yourself with somebody who is doing that. Buy the product for them, agri-process it, make it easier for home consumption, for example, and make it more accessible to people. So, and then there's also forestries that we didn't even touch. So there's research in that as well. And there's also, growing or planting trees for the purposes of making wood, firewood. So when we talk of agriculture, literally we can go on forever.
Yeah, it's broader. So, I mean, it's not just tilling the land, but there's a lot of things that you can do.
Absolutely, because even when you produce, you don't just produce for food, you also produce for non-food production, like wood, like wool, like mohair. So there's literally a lot that one can do.
I also came across agripreneurship while I was, researching a bit about agripreneurship. So is there a difference, or is it the same, basically the same thing?
Agripreneurship.
Agripreneurship rather than agripreneurship. So it's AGRO, agripreneurship, rather than agripreneurship. So it's like the production part. Is there any difference?
That's actually an interesting one. But it's normally, we normally refer to it as agripreneurship. I think maybe agropreneurship would speak to things like agronomy, which are more on plant sciences. I'm not actually really sure, because that's actually an interesting question that you're throwing at me. Now I'm learning.
Yeah. No, don't worry. It's just a chat. It's just a chat, Casandra. We're not putting you on the spot at all.
I think agro would probably refer to agronomics or agroecology, which is more on the plant sciences side.
All right. Okay. So you say that it'll be better for a beginner to rather partner with someone so that they can you know, share the risk.
I would say that. I would definitely say that. So whether you're partnering with somebody on the funding side, or you're partnering with somebody on the land access side, and then of course, please do shadow it. Go out and meet farmers who are already doing what it is that you want to do, so that you can get a clear understanding.
You found young people who are interested in this field?
There's actually quite a lot. A lot of them are agricultural students. I mean, agricultural sciences students. And then they end up being absorbed by the Department of Agriculture, Forestry, and well, now it's Agriculture. I need to now remember, because it was Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries. Now it's changed. Agriculture, Land Reform, and Rural Development. So they get absorbed into that system. And then because, you know, the ARC and the NAMC are also part of that department, then they branch out into those bodies. So a lot of young people are doing it that way. I think we still need to grow in terms of numbers in young people actually getting their hands on. Also, young innovators coming up, you know, with different organic pesticides and fertilizers, and also just people going for, you know, commodities that are not necessarily popular, like moringa, you know, things with healing properties, the more herbal health side of things as well. A lot of people are even using some of the produce to make hair products, facial products. So there's quite a lot of things that young people are doing. So they are doing quite a few things. But we need
basically, they are into the product side of things.
Yeah.
I also came across organizations that actually help you to, so basically you pay them and they kind of buy shares in a farm, or kind of, you know, they farm on your behalf. How feasible is that? Have you met any of such organizations, and does it work? So for example, if I do not want to be visiting a farm regularly, or I don't want to be the one to till the land, or to, you know, to get involved in the processing, can I give funds to an organization that actually funds on my behalf and gives me, I mean, my profit? Does that work? Have you come across any organization like that?
I've come across quite a few. We've spoken to a few on the show that I did on SAFM. I know it's something that does happen, because like you say, a lot of us are in cities. We don't really want to get involved in the dirty part of it, but we do want to get some kind of investment and return on it. I would go a different route, because I'm just simply somebody who likes to be more hands-on in terms of what I do in my business. But it can work. I think if you have the patience for it, if you've got the money, because you need to invest capital into it, and it's immediately that you need to put in the funds, it can work. I would say just also, you know, just scrutinize the business plans as well. You need to know, you need to really know, if we're saying it's cattle farming, you need to know in terms of how quickly your results are going to be, in terms of what's being presented to you, whether that's realistic or not. So you'd still need to know that field of farming that these investors are saying they're coming to help you invest in. Because, I mean, people can give you skewed figures because they want you to put your money in.
True.
And they might
want you to put your money in it.
Exactly. And a lot of times it's usually a middleman that approaches you. It's not the farmer themselves. The middleman must still go and negotiate with the farmer what the process and the outcome of that negotiation is going to be, if you are not hands-on and as hands-on as you need to be. So I'd say, I mean, try it out, but please do scrutinize it in terms of how the figures that you're being presented, whether they're realistic or not, based on your own knowledge, which is, again, going back to, you know, you need to really know the field of farming you want to go into. If they're saying in a year's time, you're going to have, if you buy one cattle, in a year's time, you're going to have 3 cattle coming out, you know for a fact.
You need to know if what they're saying is true. And you can only know if you have gotten close to someone who's a cattle farmer, to know all of these things.
And also, how old is this cattle that we're talking about? Is it a heifer? Is it a bull? You need to know those things. And at what point will a heifer start producing? At what age? And how often do they produce in a year? So you need to know these things, you know, and where the farm is. Is there enough grazing land? Are these animals going to be fed properly? Because also feeding a cattle does correlate to its fertility and its ability to be healthy. So you need to look at all these things.
All these things. Yeah, and that's also back to...
No, I'm not saying no to that option. I mean, if you want to invest your money into that kind of thing, and it's usually, they normally do it with cattle because that's where you get more. But I'd say scrutinize it, but you can go for it.
You're very right. That takes us back to what you told us in the beginning, that you need to actually, you know, get close to a farmer, get to understand, so that when someone comes to you with a proposal, at least you know, like you're saying, I mean, how long does it take for them to, you know, how long does it take? I mean, even if you're growing maize, how long does it take before it's, you can harvest and all of these things? At least if you know a little bit about that crop, you will be able to also give your 1 or 2 cents.
Also say on the cattle things, I know there's two that we spoke to, they were saying people must invest about 5,000 Rand. I mean, even like that, I mean, you look at the amount of money that they're saying you need to invest. And when you've attended auctions, you realize that 5,000 Rand will not buy you a fully grown cow. It will buy you a calf. And then at one point, go to an age where it's reproductive for you to get your return. So things like that, in terms of how much money are you asked to invest and how much does it cost to get you know, a fully grown cow, and if it is to get them, and how long will it get, you know, to the place where it starts reproducing?
Awesome. You are an educator, so tell us, what is the future of agripreneurship or agriculture? If we're looking at in the next 5 years, is it going to expand? More people going to go into agriculture? We're going to understand that more. And what do you think can be done differently for the youth to, you know, to go into agric without thinking that, you know, it's just for our grannies? Because you got that interest because of where you're coming from. But for someone who didn't grow up in the rural areas, it becomes difficult, or you never really see the benefit. So what has been done differently to change our minds? I say our because I want my mind to be changed as well. In fact, my mind is already changed. I'm definitely going to farming. So what do you think done differently to change minds about farming?
Well, I mean, there's definitely a bright future. I mean, I don't have statistics in terms of figures. You know, the economics guys can come in there and help us out. But it's definitely something that's not going anywhere. We're always going to need food. We're always going to need to make sure that we are food secure. We're always going to need entrepreneurship. So that's always something that's going to be there. There's definitely a bright future. I think in the next 5 years, we might see more sorghum farmers, because that's what's being farmed majorly now on the continent. Well, we've got a lot of investors also coming into the continent wanting our land. We've got arable land in Africa like nobody's business. And that's our goal, basically. And I'm just hoping that we hold on to that and we don't let too much of that go, as much as we want investment in the continent. And what we can change, I think let's talk more. Like, we're having this conversation now. Let's have more of these conversations. And young people can...
Absolutely. My younger sister, you know, when I told my younger sister that I'm going to farming, the first thing she said, she's, first of all, you will need, you know, a huge capital. And apart from that, they're not going to buy the produce at a very good price. You end up, you know, wasting your time and money. Now I see her writing that her mind is changed. So all of our minds are changed. We're definitely going into farming.
We need to shout out to her.
Thank you. So her name is Eunice. So Eunice saying that she definitely she's studios. So yeah. Okay. Better. Thank you very much. I mean, this is so informative. I mean, I want to definitely go into farming. So you and I will be having conversations behind the scenes, where to start. I'm going to do more research. But most importantly, I'm going to draw close to those who are already in farming to get, you know, more insight. So that, for example, like you said, if someone comes to me to say, invest 5,000 to buy a cow, I know that that is not going to be enough. That is just going to buy a cow. So I will be able to, you know, give also my, the person will know that they're not dealing with someone who doesn't know anything about farming. So yeah, I'm very, very excited. I'm sold out. I'm definitely going into farming.
Awesome.
How do people get hold of you?
Okay, so my Instagram is at asanda.beta. You can find me on Facebook as well, Asanda Beta.
All right.
And then to change your game on Channel Africa. That's on every Fridays at 9.
Yes, change your game. She is the host of Change the Game. Yes, on Channel Africa.
So, social media platforms, you can find me easily.
Absolutely. I'm going to get people to come to you, but most importantly, give me the chance first. Don't talk to anybody first until you talk to me.
You're the VIP, girl. You're on speed dial on my phone.
But thank you very, very much, Asanda. Thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate you. I remember the first time that I met you, I said to myself, you are such an amazing young woman, and you know, communicate with such grace. And yeah, it's a pleasure.
It takes one to know one, honestly.
I beg you?
It takes one to know one.
Yes. Oh, okay. Thanks for the compliment.
Thank you.
But anyway,
and all that you deserve.
thank you so very much. Thank you for coming. And we are definitely going to take farming to the next level. It is the game changer.
Also add, I mean, there's business plan guidelines on the DAF website. If people want, if people feel like they are already on that stage.
DAF website. Is it DAF?
It's daf.gov.za.
All right. Okay.
daf.gov.za. I'm not paid by the department, by the way. I'm just saying stuff that I know. Just like I'm not paid by any trade union. I'm just sharing the information out there so people can do their own research.
So people can do their own research. Thank you very much for coming again. And keep well, keep safe, and we will talk soon.
Definitely we will. Thank you so much.
Right.
My pleasure.
Bye-bye. Bye.